The moment I opened the safe and saw nothing but dust where my life savings should have been, I knew Marcus had crossed a line no man could come back from. My hands shook as I stood in the dim light of my garage, the air thick with the smell of motor oil and betrayal. 20 years of scraping by, every extra dollar tucked away for a future I could barely dream of, gone. Marcus, my best friend since we were kids shooting hoops in the alley, had vanished with it. A note in his jagged handwriting sat on my kitchen table. "I'm sorry, Harry. I had no choice." No choice. I'd given him everything: trust, loyalty, a roof when he lost his job. And he repaid me by gutting my life. I sank to the floor, the cold concrete biting through my jeans. My mind raced, piecing together the last few months. Marcus had been cagey, always dodging questions about his late-night phone calls, or why he kept checking his watch like a man waiting for a bomb to go off. I thought he was just stressed, maybe tangled up with some bad deals. But this? Stealing $80,000 and skipping town? This was a knife in the back, twisted deep. I didn't call the cops. What was the point? Marcus was too smart to leave a trail, and I wasn't about to beg for scraps from a system that didn't care. No, this was personal. I'd find him myself. I'd make him look me in the eye and explain why he thought he could ruin me. My fingers curled into fists, nails digging into my palms. I didn't know where he'd gone, but I had a hunch. Evelyn, his ex-girlfriend, might know something. She'd always been sharp, too sharp for Marcus, and she'd left him last year after some fight he wouldn't talk about. If anyone knew where he'd run, it was her. The next morning, I drove to Evelyn's apartment across town. The city was gray, rain smearing the windshield as I parked outside her building. She opened the door, her dark hair pulled back, eyes narrowing when she saw me. "Harry? What's wrong?" she asked, like she could already smell trouble. "Marcus," I said, voice low. "He took everything. You know where he is?" Her face tightened, and for a split second, I saw something flicker in her eyes. Fear, maybe, or guilt. "He's gone, Harry. Left for good. I warned you he was trouble." "Trouble doesn't empty a man's safe," I snapped. "Where'd he go, Evelyn?" She hesitated, then stepped aside to let me in. Her place was small, cluttered with books and half-packed boxes, like she was planning to bolt too. "I don't know for sure," she said, sitting on the couch. "But last week, he called me, drunk, rambling about starting over in Nevada. Said he had a plan, something big." "Nevada?" I pressed, leaning forward. "Where?" She shook her head. "He didn't say. Just, he sounded desperate. Like he was running from something worse than you." Worse than me? That hit like a punch. Marcus wasn't just running from me. He was running from something bigger. But what? I thanked Evelyn, my mind already spinning, and headed back to my truck. Nevada was a big place, but I'd tear it apart if I had to. As I pulled onto the highway, my phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "Stop looking for him, Harry. You don't know what you're walking into." Who the hell was watching me? The text burned in my mind as I drove west, the endless ribbon of highway stretching toward Nevada. Stop looking for him. The words felt like a threat, but they only fueled me. Someone knew where Marcus was, and they didn't want me finding him. Too bad. I'd spent my life being the guy who played fair, who trusted too easily. Not anymore. Marcus had taken more than money. He'd taken my faith in people. I wasn't stopping until I had answers. I stopped at a diner outside Salt Lake City, the kind of place where the coffee tastes like regret and the waitresses call you hon. My phone sat on the counter, the mystery text still unanswered. I didn't reply, didn't want to tip my hand. Instead, I pulled out my laptop and started digging. Marcus wasn't dumb enough to use his real name, but he had habits. He loved dive bars, the kind with sticky floors and neon signs. If he was in Nevada, he'd be haunting one. I found a forum where people swapped tips about off-the-grid spots in Nevada. One name kept popping up, the Rusty Spur, a bar in a nowhere town called Redstone. It was a long shot, but Marcus had always been drawn to places like that, where nobody asked questions. I memorized the address and hit the road again, the desert blurring past my windows. Redstone was a speck of a town, all cracked pavement and sun-bleached signs. The Rusty Spur was exactly what I expected, a squat building with a flickering sign and a parking lot full of beat-up trucks. Inside, the air was thick with cigarette smoke and the hum of a jukebox. I scanned the room, half expecting to see Marcus nursing a beer. No luck. But the bartender, a guy named Travis with a scar across his eyebrow, Looked like he knew more than he let on. Looking for someone? Travis asked, wiping down the bar. Maybe, I said, sliding a 20 across the counter. Guy named Marcus. Tall, dark hair, talks like he's selling you something. Travis pocketed the bill, his eyes flicking to the door. Lots of guys come through here. Don't know any Marcus. I leaned closer, voice low. He's got my money. 80 grand. I'm not leaving without a lead. Travis froze, just for a second, then nodded toward a guy in the corner booth. Talk to Caleb. He knows everyone who passes through. Caleb was a wiry guy with a nervous tic, his fingers drumming on the table. When I mentioned Marcus, his eyes darted away. Heard of a guy like that, Caleb muttered. Came through a week ago, throwing cash around. Said he was headed to Vegas, looking to meet someone named Vincent. Vincent. The name hit me like a brick. Marcus had mentioned a Vincent once, years ago, some shady guy he'd done business with before I convinced him to go straight. Or so I thought. I pressed Caleb for more, but he clammed up, muttering about not wanting trouble. I left the bar, my head spinning. Vegas was huge, but I had a name now. Vincent. As I climbed into my truck, headlights flashed behind me. A black SUV peeled out of the lot, too fast to be casual. Someone was following me. Vegas was a neon jungle, all glitz and noise, but I wasn't here for the slots. I was chasing a ghost named Vincent, and every second I spent in this city made my skin crawl. The SUV had tailed me for miles before disappearing into the desert, but I wasn't dumb enough to think I'd lost them. Whoever sent that text knew I was coming, and they weren't happy about it. I checked into a cheap motel off the strip, the kind where the walls are thin and the locks are flimsy. My plan was simple. Hit every lowlife bar and casino until I found someone who knew Vincent. I started at a place called the Snake Pit, a dive where the air reeked of whiskey and desperation. The crowd was rough, guys with tattoos crawling up their necks, women with eyes that had seen too much. I asked around, dropping Vincent's name like bait. Most people shrugged or walked away, but one guy, a bouncer named Derek, gave me a hard look. You don't want to mess with Vincent, Derek said, cracking his knuckles. He's not the kind of guy you find. He finds you. Tell me where to start, I said, slipping him a 50. Derek hesitated, then leaned in. Try the Blue Diamond Casino. Vincent's got a private game in the back. But if you go, don't say I sent you. The Blue Diamond was a step up from the Snake Pit, all polished floors and fake smiles. I bluffed my way into the back room, claiming I was a friend of Vincent's. The guy running the game, a slick type named Lucas, didn't buy it. Vincent doesn't have friends, he said, smirking. But Marcus does. My heart stopped. You know Marcus? Lucas's smirk faded. Knew him. He was here last night, playing high stakes. Left with Vincent. Haven't seen either since. I pressed for more, but Lucas shut down, waving me off like I was a stray dog. I left the casino, my mind racing. Marcus was here, in Vegas, with Vincent. But where were they now? As I stepped into the parking lot, my phone buzzed again. Another text from the unknown number. You're getting close, Harry. Too close. I spun around, scanning the lot. Nothing but shadows and the hum of neon. Then I saw it, a figure watching me from across the street, too far to make out. Before I could move, they vanished into an alley. I wasn't alone anymore. The alley was a bad idea, but I wasn't thinking straight. The figure had disappeared into the maze of Vegas's back streets, and I followed, my pulse hammering. I told myself I was chasing answers, but deep down, I knew I was chasing Marcus. The alley smelled of garbage and stale beer, the walls closing in as I moved deeper. My hand hovered near the knife in my pocket. Not that I wanted to use it, but I wasn't taking chances. Halfway down, I heard footsteps behind me. I turned, but no one was there. Just the echo of my own breathing. Then, a voice, low, rough, unfamiliar. You shouldn't be here, Harry. I froze. The figure stepped out from a doorway, a guy in a leather jacket, face half hidden by a baseball cap. He wasn't Marcus, but he knew my name. Who are you? I demanded, gripping the knife tighter. Doesn't matter, he said. Vincent sends his regards. Walk away, or you won't walk at all. Tell Vincent I want my money, I said, stepping closer. And I want Marcus. The guy laughed, a cold sound that echoed off the walls. Marcus isn't over his head. You think you're the only one he screwed over? Vincent's got bigger problems than your little vendetta. Before I could ask what he meant, he lunged. I dodged, barely, and swung my fist, catching him in the jaw. He stumbled, but he was fast, grabbing my arm and twisting it behind me. Pain shot through my shoulder as I kicked back, hitting his knee. He cursed and let go, and I bolted, sprinting toward the street. I didn't stop until I was back at the motel, my chest heaving. The guy hadn't followed, but his words stuck with me. Marcus wasn't just running from me. He was running from Vincent. Whatever he'd gotten into, it was bigger than a stolen safe. I needed to find him before Vincent did. The next morning, I tracked down a lead from a waitress at the Snake Pit. She'd overheard Marcus talking about a warehouse on the edge of town, someplace Vincent used for business. I drove out there, the desert sun beating down on my truck. The warehouse was a rusted hulk, surrounded by chain link and barbed wire. I parked a safe distance away and watched. Hours passed, nothing but tumbleweeds and heat haze. Then, just as I was about to give up, a car pulled up. Marcus stepped out. My blood boiled, but before I could move, another car screeched in. Gunshots rang out. The crack of gunfire sent me ducking behind my truck, heart pounding like a drum. Marcus was out there, caught in whatever mess he'd made, and I was too far to do anything but watch. The warehouse lot was chaos. 2 cars, one Marcus's, the other a sleek black sedan. Men in dark clothes poured out, firing at each other like this was some kind of war zone. Marcus dove behind a stack of crates, his face pale even from a distance. He wasn't fighting back. He was running. I wanted to hate him, to let him face whatever he'd brought on himself. But seeing him pinned down, scared out of his mind, stirred something I didn't expect. Pity. He'd betrayed me, sure, but we'd been through too much for me to let him die like this. Not yet. I crept closer, staying low, using the rusted hulks of old machinery for cover. The gunfire slowed, replaced by shouts. One voice cut through, sharp and commanding. Find him. Vincent wants him alive. Vincent. There it was again, that name tying everything together. I peeked around a crate and saw Marcus crawling toward the warehouse door, clutching something. A bag, maybe the money. My money. Rage flared, but I pushed it down. Answers first, revenge later. I slipped inside the warehouse after him, the air cool and thick with dust. The place was a maze of crates and machinery, shadows dancing in the dim light. I heard Marcus's footsteps, uneven and frantic, deeper inside. Then, a new sound, boots, heavy and deliberate. Someone else was here. I followed the noise, my knife out now, every nerve on edge. Marcus was crouched behind a stack of pallets, breathing hard. He didn't see me, but I saw the fear in his eyes, the same look he had when we were kids and got caught stealing candy from the corner store. Back then, I'd taken the blame for him. Not this time. Marcus, I whispered, stepping into view. He spun, eyes wide, and for a moment, I thought he'd bolt. Harry? What the hell are you doing here? Looking for you, I said, voice low. You took my life, Marcus. Why? He opened his mouth, but before he could answer, the boots stopped. A man stepped into the light, tall, broad, with a scar running down his cheek. Vincent. He smiled, cold and sharp, like a shark. Well, he said. 2 for the price of 1. Vincent's voice was smooth, like he was offering me a drink instead of holding a gun to my head. Marcus was frozen, the bag clutched tight against his chest. My money, or what was left of it, was right there, but all I could think about was the barrel pointed at me. Vincent wasn't what I expected. He was polished, in a tailored suit, like he belonged in a boardroom, not a dusty warehouse. But his eyes told a different story. Empty, like he'd seen too many men beg and none of it mattered. Harry, right? Vincent said, tilting his head. Marcus told me about you. The loyal friend. The fool. I glared at Marcus, who wouldn't meet my eyes. What's this about, Vincent? Why's he running from you? Vincent laughed, a sound that made my skin crawl. Running? Oh, Marcus isn't running. He's working for me. Or he was, until he got greedy. Greedy? I snapped, glancing at Marcus. He stole from me, not you. Wrong, Vincent said, stepping closer. That money in your safe? It was mine. Marcus was supposed to hold it, clean it, deliver it. Instead, he thought he could disappear with it. And now here we are. My stomach dropped. The money I'd spent years saving, the money I thought was mine, was dirty. I looked at Marcus, waiting for him to deny it. He didn't. He just stared at the floor, like a kid caught with his hand in the cookie jar. Harry, I'm sorry, Marcus mumbled. I didn't mean for you to get caught up in this. Caught up? I hissed. You used me, Marcus. You made me a target. Vincent clapped, slow and mocking. Beautiful. A real friendship ruined. But here's the deal, Harry. I want my money. Marcus says it's gone, spent on some bad bets. So you two are going to get it back for me. Or I start cutting pieces off. I swallowed hard, my mind racing. Work for Vincent? The guy who'd just had his goons shoot up a warehouse. But the gun in his hand wasn't giving me much choice. What do you want us to do? I asked, hating every word. Vincent grinned. There's a guy in Reno, owes me a debt. You and Marcus are going to collect. If you don't, I'll find you both. And trust me, I always do. He tossed me a piece of paper with a name and address scrawled on it. As we left the warehouse, Marcus trailing behind like a beaten dog, I realized something. Vincent wasn't just threatening us. He was testing us. And if we failed, we were dead. Outside, Marcus grabbed my arm. Harry, I swear, I'll make this right. I yanked free, my voice cold. You're out of chances, Marcus. But I'm not doing this for you. I'm doing it to survive. As we climbed into my truck, I saw movement in the shadows. Someone was still watching. Reno was a smaller, grittier version of Vegas, all flashing lights and broken dreams. The address Vincent gave us led to a pawn shop, the kind of place where people sell their last hopes for a few bucks. The guy we were sent to collect from, a nervous wreck named Ethan, didn't have Vincent's money. He swore he'd been robbed, but his shifty eyes told me he was lying. Marcus, desperate to save his own skin, was ready to beat the truth out of him. I stopped him, not because I cared about Ethan, but because I was done letting Marcus drag me deeper into his mess. We're not doing this, I said, pulling Marcus outside. We're not Vincent's dogs. Harry, you heard him, Marcus pleaded. He'll kill us. Maybe, I said, my voice steady. But I'm not killing for him. Or for you. Marcus stared at me, his face a mix of fear and guilt. For the first time, I saw the man he'd become, not my friend, but a coward who'd sold me out to save himself. I turned to leave, ready to take my chances with Vincent, when Ethan burst out of the shop, a gun in his shaking hands. Vincent sent you, didn't he? Ethan screamed. I'm done running. Before I could react, he fired. The bullet grazed my arm, pain searing through me. Marcus tackled him, and they went down in a heap, the gun skidding across the pavement. I grabbed it, my hands shaking, and pointed it at Ethan. For a moment, I wanted to pull the trigger, not for Vincent, but for me. For everything I'd lost. Instead, I lowered the gun. Get out of here, I told Ethan. He didn't need to be told twice. Marcus looked at me, blood on his face from the scuffle. Why didn't you shoot? Because I'm not you, I said. I'm done with this. With you. I walked away, leaving Marcus in the street. My arm throbbed, but the pain felt clean, like it was washing away the rage. I didn't know if Vincent would come for me, or if Marcus would survive the night. All I knew was I wasn't going to let revenge define me anymore. As I drove out of Reno, my phone buzzed one last time. Another text. You made the right choice, Harry. But this isn't over. I didn't know who it was. Vincent, someone else, or maybe just my own ghosts. But for the first time in weeks, I felt free.